AI skills are going to be required for every job. It doesn't matter if you're a software engineer or a marketer or a sales professional or an accountant. A role that LinkedIn is playing now and will increasingly play more is being able to be a destination for individuals who are trying to figure out how to navigate, the changing world of work, kind of confusion and anxiety that exists with what skills do I have today? Are they going to be relevant? And what skills do I need to be tomorrow to thrive and be able to provide that guidance and assistance and the resources through LinkedIn Learning and otherwise to be able to help people, navigate what is a pretty, confusing time.
Right. Hello and welcome to another special episode of Maestros Code. The world of work is changing a lot, and so are the tools that we use to make professional connections. And one of the most influential tools that a lot of professionals around the world use today is LinkedIn. So I have with me Erran Berger, VP Product Engineering at LinkedIn. He sits on the executive team deciding how LinkedIn's backend works and how a lot of technology goes into this platform. Eran, glad to have you on the podcast.
Excited to be here. Thanks for having me.
Great. Eran, LinkedIn is more than a professional network. It's also a place where a lot of sales pitches happen. There's a lot of activity around the whole platform. So could you give a brief on what you do, what your team does largely, and how do you kind of get things done at LinkedIn?
Yeah, so my team is the product engineering team at LinkedIn, and we really bring all of our member and customer experiences to life. We are the iOS, Android web developers, we're the backend developers, data scientists, applied machine learning experts that think about all of our users' needs, and that could be, in our flagship application that people consume content in the feed, or they apply to jobs, or they make connections, build out their profiles. It could be through our various businesses. It could be marketers using our marketing solutions, advertising product, or LinkedIn Sales Solutions product for outbound sellers. It could be, our premium subscriptions products or even our online learning businesses, the entire spectrum of recruiting businesses, the entire spectrum of user-facing products that exist in our portfolio. My team builds it. And it's really amazing to be part of kind of at the center ecosystem between the product management team and the design team that are dreaming up all these experiences that we want to bring to life, our infrastructure teams that create capabilities that that enable us to make these experiences, and piecing all that together, shipping products and seeing how our users react and learning as we go, especially in this age of AI where it feels like everything's changing all around us every day.
Right. So you've been at LinkedIn from roughly 2009, if I'm getting it right. And there's a lot of changes that happened. Around that time, a lot of the shift was around how do you get all the resumes on the platform is what a lot of people thought about. How do I get moved to the next job or the next position in a company? So that's a fundamentally different architecture on how people are looking at work. Now the way the world is working is there's a lot of YouTube influencers. It's a profile or a particular job description that didn't exist earlier. So how are you looking at the overall architecture of work and the change in skills, and how do you build that into the platform?
That's a really good question. I think at the end of the day, professionals still need a way to represent themselves, their skills, their knowledge, their expertise, what they're great at. And certainly LinkedIn as a platform, the LinkedIn profile in particular, has changed since 2009. Actually, funny fact, my first job at LinkedIn was the technical lead for our profile product. And if I think about our profile product today versus what it was in 2009, it's changed pretty dramatically, because even before kind of the latest, changes and disruption that AI is bringing to the world of work has changed. Gig work was not even a thing at scale in 2009. Now gig workers need to represent themselves on our platform, obviously at scale globally. And so we've always had this mentality that your profile, the LinkedIn profile needs to be able to evolve and adapt as professionals evolve and adapt. One of the things that is certainly happening right now as you said, is that, the core of work is being transformed with AI. New skills are emerging, right? Prompt engineering, data annotation. These are skills and jobs that didn't exist just a few years ago. And it feels like new ones are emerging, every month as new tools come out. And we actually, it's funny, we just launched, a verified skills product that enables users of vibe coding tools, for example, like Replit, for example, to be able to actually demonstrate their expertise in those skills on platforms. So, our work today as a platform that is a professional profile of record is to be able to emerge and adapt with the changing world of work and be able to support professionals to represent themselves as the work changes.
So how do you tinker around that? How do you build a persona for, let's say, a sales navigator or somebody who wants to use a premium account on LinkedIn? How do you think about, who would be the right person at this particular time?
You mean for our...
Largely how you build, what would be the useful thing for them? How do you build a product around it?
Yeah, I think a lot of that just starts with deep understanding for the users that you're trying to build a product for. What tasks are they performing in their job? What workflows do they need? And what's really interesting right now with AI, and we're seeing this in our products as well, whether it's our LinkedIn recruiter product that we built for recruiters, our sales navigator product that we built for sellers, our marketing solutions product that we built for B2B advertisers, is that their goals haven't changed. A recruiter is still trying to hire people for their company. A seller is still trying to find a lead for their B2B business, whatever they're selling. A marketer is still trying to also generate a lead through marketing campaigns. But the tasks that they're performing historically, now AI can fulfill a lot of these tasks, especially the repetitive tasks, the toil, the things that people maybe didn't sign up for when they wanted to go into that job, but are part of the job. So a really good example of this in recruiting is historically recruiters who use our LinkedIn recruiting product were spending most of their time doing searches to find the best candidate for the role that they're serving. But what recruiters love doing is talking to people, evaluating if they're the right cultural fit, selling the company and the mission and the vision of the company and why it presents a good career opportunity for a candidate. But they were spending very little of their time doing that. Well, our LinkedIn Hiring Assistant came in, the product that we just GA'd, and the whole premise was, hey, let's free up recruiters' time to do what they love, to do what makes recruiters great, and not do the repetitive sourcing tasks that actually AI is really good at. And so we focus LinkedIn Hiring Assistant on automating all the repetitive work to free up the recruiters to do what really differentiates themselves and the high-value, human-centric things, judgment, creativity, relationship building, that AI can't do.
Right. So on the flip side of it, from, let's say, a user, not somebody who's a recruiter, somebody who's looking for a job, in that case, would it be easier for them, if they understand this automated system, to kind of, look for jobs or, create a profile for themselves in a certain way, that their particular profile comes into the filter all the time? So how do you build a system in place where you don't let people kind of abuse the automated system?
Yeah, certainly. At the end of the day, both for job seekers and for hirers, our product only works if we're doing a good job of matching people. And that is everything from preventing gaming of the system on behalf of job seekers. It's also on behalf of making sure that recruiters are not, overly spamming seekers on the other side who may not be interested in the job that's being pursued. So there's all sorts of guardrails and controls that we can put into the matching ecosystem to prevent these things from happening. I think by and large we're doing a pretty good job of that. We continue to constantly look at the signals we have in the system and also introduce features that enable people to make sure that the matches are quality. So a really good example of this is we launched a JobMatch feature last year that is able to show a hirer whether they have the skills that the hirer is looking for. And if they don't have the skills that the hirer is looking for, not to bother applying for that job because they're probably not going to hear back anyway, and their attention may be better positioned at a different job that does have those skills. And you can imagine the extension of that could be, well, actually, you don't have these skills, but here's a bunch of LinkedIn learning courses that you can take that you can get a certification for that we can put on your profile that might make you a better match for that job down the line. And so these are examples of how we're trying to make the marketplace work better for everybody on both sides.
So, and how are you building on the learning feature? Given that so much of change in the job market happening, how are you seeing these two products in terms of the premium and the learning tools?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think one of the amazing things of being LinkedIn is that our products are built on what we call the economic graph, which is 1.3 billion members across the platform, tens of millions of companies, all the skills that these people have, the knowledge that they're sharing, what people are hiring for. And so we can see, what trends are emerging, what new jobs are emerging, what career paths are. And all of that can feed into our roadmaps. And so in the case of learning, obviously, one of the most important things right now is AI. And we've built out, based on what we're seeing as emergent skills, a whole portfolio of new learning courses targeted at individuals who want to become AI fluent. And, zooming out from LinkedIn Learning, AI skills are going to be required for every job. It doesn't matter if you're a software engineer or a marketer or a sales professional or an accountant. And so, one of the things that we really feel is a role that LinkedIn is playing now and will increasingly play more is being able to be a destination for individuals who are trying to figure out how to navigate, the changing world of work, the admittedly kind of confusion and anxiety that exists with what skills do I have today? Are they going to be relevant? And what skills do I need to be tomorrow to thrive and be able to provide that guidance and assistance and the resources through LinkedIn Learning and otherwise to be able to help people, navigate what is a pretty, confusing time.
Right. I also want to stick around the talent part and ask you to detail a little more on the idea of building a broader profile for somebody, not just within, let's say, what they learn from LinkedIn or what they currently do at work. People are also blogging, people are building smaller apps, a lot of other things people are doing beyond the job description. So how can LinkedIn as a platform provide a place for them to showcase that? So that also goes into a recruiter's semantic search and they look for something. Is there a way for them to serendipitously come across a profile which wouldn't have figured in their initial automated system?
Yeah, I think there are already, we already on profile have the ability to let people basically add URLs to augment their profile to other things that exist outside of the walls of LinkedIn, whether that's linked to GitHub repo or linked to Behance portfolio if you're a designer, a link to your website if you're a small business owner. And so these capabilities already exist on the profile. And, I think recruiters are obviously using that information depending on what they're searching for. And we'll continue to evolve this feature set as new, different ways that people represent themselves on the internet exist, and what makes sense to put on the LinkedIn profile. We'll make sure to keep it relevant to that.
Got it. So we next move into the AI zone, right? How much is your platform using AI right now? If you could give a broad idea of what sort of AI do you use, and how much of the LinkedIn code runs on AI?
You mean our how much of our R&D software on product development process?
Yes, yeah.
We are experimenting with lots of tools. I think let me take a step back. We have this vision of the future of product development called the full stack builder. And the idea is that, today the product development process has a bunch of steps. Ideation and analysis, which is take an idea and analyze whether it makes sense, and then, prototyping, and then design, and then writing a product specification, and coding, and then testing, and eventually, deploying and running an experiment in production. And actually, within any one of these steps, turns out there's lots of sub-steps, and we've developed very specialized roles to perform all the sub-steps. In fact, even in engineering, if you think about us shipping a new feature, there's an iOS developer, an Android developer, a web developer, a backend developer, a machine learning engineer, all these specialized roles. So every one of these steps has a bunch of specialized roles. And with the advent of AI, actually, we have this vision that, and maybe this is, very kind of down the line ambition, that couldn't you just have one full stack builder who had a bunch of AI tools at their disposal, who could go from idea to launch all on their own, and how much faster could we get new features to the hands of our developers, and not our developers, our customers and our members, and how much more value could we create? That's our vision. So we've taken this idea of the full stack builder, we've mapped out the R&D development process, and we're starting to, with AI, start automating different components. And of course, we're nowhere near today a point where we have one person who is able to do all the steps. We're starting to see some of the functional silos break down. We're starting to see product managers writing code, which they weren't able to do before. We're starting to see engineers have ideas that they can turn into designs and product specs on their own and take them all the way to production. And so we're starting to see glimmers of this full stack builder future already appearing. Beyond that, of course, we are really thinking about how we can apply AI to everything, from debugging production incidents to shipping code faster to generating designs based on our design library to analyzing data sets to identify business opportunities across the board. We're deploying AI.
Right. So when you talk about glimmers of this happening across, so are you talking about the essential emergent AI skill sets becoming part of every employee, and that'll help them all to become part of some kind of full stack builder? Is that what you?
I think I think we're learning. I think the thing that I would say, both in terms of how we build, but also the products that we build themselves, is a core, thesis or dogma that we have during this moment, is that things are changing so rapidly, is that we constantly have to be in an iterative learning mode. So when it comes to your specific question, which is, hey, well, is the end goal that everybody's a full stack builder? Or will we still have, I think the implication that we still have specialists and specialist roles? I don't think that we know. My intuition is that the composition of teams will change in terms of the functions, and we will have more people able to branch out from just their own skill set, to unblock themselves, to have less dependency, so that they can actually, cover more of the R&D life cycle, so to speak. But I think that there will still be the need for, specialists who are deep domain experts, who understand the craft of design, what a beautiful, elegant, intuitive user experience looks like. And just because a software engineer cannot create a design doesn't mean that it meets the bar of what a great user experience looks like. We need domain expert designers to be able to provide that input to craft. And on the other end of the spectrum, a really well architected engineering system, just because a designer or a product manager now can use a tool to generate code with AI, doesn't mean that it is going to be efficient, doesn't mean that it's going to be performant and load quickly, especially in emerging markets like India. Doesn't mean that it is going to be maintainable or operable or secure. And so you still need the specialist domain experts who can review that AI generated code, no matter who generated it, to make sure it meets the craft bar. And so I think while you're going to have people who can scale across functions, you're still going to need the domain specialists, the experts who are going to be able to apply the craft in those domains.
Right. So you still do need the maestros and the smaller time musicians to.
I love that line exactly. The maestros, 100%.
So and how does somebody who wants to learn the skill of a specialist go about in this scenario, given that so much of changes is happening in the job market? Is there a way for them to? I mean, of course, LinkedIn has a lot of learning portal and all that, but how does a professional approach this through a platform like LinkedIn?
I think that's part of the magic of LinkedIn is the community and I think the network of experts that exist. And I think people are often surprised by how helpful their network on LinkedIn is when they just ask a question, whether it's a job seeker, somebody who's been, like recently moved or recently laid off and, is looking for a job, or it's just somebody who has a question about a problem they're stuck on at work and reaching out to their network publicly or privately and how many people are willing to help. And so, while I think that AI will certainly transform the way that people learn and get access to knowledge, I think that expert network knowledge, one that maybe is not available in the training data set of a foundational model, but is in the heads of the 1.3 billion professionals over the internet, that's not going to be replaced. And so I think that LinkedIn will, as a platform, will remain an asset for that, which is
the power of networks.
And the power of networks and the power of the knowledge of that exists in in all the professionals' heads on the platform. And so part of what I think the ability of our platform and the ambition is for our platform is to be that place where every professional, when they need help, when they've got a question, they can come to LinkedIn, especially in this moment of kind of disruptive change, whether that's how to navigate their career or how to pivot their career or just if they're stuck on something at work, how to use an AI tool that doesn't quite seem to be working their way, or I got an answer from this question from this LLM. Is it right? Feels like LinkedIn is a good place for asking that kind of question too.
Right. It seems more like the Stack Overflow model, but then a lot of things that happen on LinkedIn seems more like a lot of updates around what happens at work and how people feel about what's happening during the day. So it sometimes I feel one of the important features that possibly LinkedIn could have is have these kind of systems or communities which can go a little more broader. Is there any feature that you're building around communities for this? Because communities as a product used to be great at one point in time, but I mean this could be my personal perspective, but people are using it. It seems to get a little more into the flattery territory, not really building on something. So you want to just weigh in on that? The idea of how communities are built on LinkedIn.
Yeah, I think that a lot of what one can get out of LinkedIn is by how you construct your network. And my advice, I think my feed when I come to it is really rich with a lot of content that exists that is really relevant to me, whether that's in AI and how that's affecting product development or the changing world of work, or other professional topics I'm interested in. And that's because I've very explicitly curated my network with people that I follow and people who are in my industry that I've connected with. And I think the key to making the LinkedIn feed work really well for that use case is intentionality and how people construct their networks with that purpose in mind.
Got it. So last question, Erran, to you is, what's the mindset people should have, given that so much of AI is going to get into a lot of skills, jobs, and other things? What could be a single most important mindset people can have in this new world of work era?
Gosh, what an interesting question. I think curiosity is going to take people a really long way. And maybe not being afraid to, and I'm sure there's a better word for this, but take the leap to try to learn AI, learn all the tools in AI, especially in the jobs that they're in. So I think that, as I look back, in advancements, even in just engineering, from embedded systems to distributed systems to cloud, from cloud now to AI. We've had all these leaps, and the engineers who I think have had the most long-running careers were the ones who, when the shifts happened, jumped head first with curiosity toward learning the new paradigm. And I think that is true, I suspect, across many functions. And in this world of AI, we're going to see this change in how all these jobs manifest. And we will still need recruiters, but the nature of recruiting is going to change because of recruiter tools. And so I think the recruiters that are going to be most successful are the ones that are curious, that embrace the tools, that figure out how to do their jobs better with the use of these tools. And so, my advice is be curious and jump headlong into learning the tools, and you will probably be able to figure out how to have a very fruitful career.
Right. I'll make it final plus one question on the nature of the recruiter, right? You mentioned, the nature of recruiting will change. Could you give a little more light or color on that?
Yeah, I think I mentioned a little bit at the beginning. I think that the repetitive parts of recruiting, I think, will be automated. I mean, we're working on an assistant to make those repetitive tasks that recruiters don't even really like and enjoy doing, but are just part of what being a recruiter is, go away, so that they can focus on the human-centric parts of recruiting. The judgment that comes with whether a candidate is truly great for not just your job, but your culture. The creativity to find the candidate that, is a diamond in the rough, that maybe is not have the traditional background, but has the skills and the ambition and the know-how, and knowing how to search for how to find them. And then, of course, the relationships that come with recruiting, which is understanding, especially when it comes to during the interview process, what are the motivations of the candidate? What drives them? What are they interested in? How does my company culture and my company mission and vision match theirs? And have that conversation to help them make the best decision they can for their career and hopefully join their company. Those are things that AI can't do, right? Those are the human-centric things that I think will persist. And so and those are the things that recruiters love to do, right? Creativity and judgment and relationships. So
finally, AI is going to make recruiters do the things that they love to do.
That's the hope.
Fantastic. On that note, Eran, thanks so much for your time. It's been a pleasure connecting with you and getting to know a lot of things on what's happening at LinkedIn, the world of work, and how the full stack development is changing, how skills could change, and how the nature of the recruiting function itself could change. Thanks so much for your time, and it's a pleasure speaking with you.
Thanks for having me.